Well, this person says, can you please do a quick tip on how to paint a picture of a girl wearing blue denim jeans? And added, it's very difficult to paint the texture. Well, there are two ways I can go here. Let's see which one I'll choose. Well, I could do a painting of a girl wearing jeans and let you watch me. And then what would you learn from that? You might learn a little bit, but there's another way I can go, and this is the way I'm going to choose. And that is to take you through the steps that you can go through to paint any kind of fabric or a person wearing any kind of fabric. To do that, we're going to do a two-part set of quick tips. So this will be part one, and then we'll finish the tip with part two. So let's begin with what are we looking for here? A girl wearing jeans. Well, a denim jeans, and that I assume blue denim. So the first thing I did was to go see how many kinds of blue denim I could find. And I found a whole stack of them right here. This is probably not all. So which one of those do we choose? There's the first question. So see, just saying a girl wearing blue denim jeans doesn't tell us a whole lot, just gives us a very general thing. The other thing is, how is the light shining and where are the shadows falling, that sort of thing. Well, first of all, here's the pattern where we don't really have light and shadow. This shows the general pattern, I believe, of this one right here. So this is a general pattern, but look, the texture and the color is what we notice here, but we still don't notice how that we still don't have the information of what happens when that is on a form, on a figure, and what happens when there's light shining on parts of it and parts of it going in shadow. So this only gives us the texture. Well, I decided rather than use a girl wearing jeans, I would choose a boy. Well, it didn't matter whether it's a boy or a girl or whatever, but I decided to choose a denim jacket, so that rather than you copying everything I do, you can take what I show you and you can go to the girl wearing jeans or whatever you want to with denim and do a painting of it, because the kind of information I'm going to give you is the kind of information that you can use for painting just about anything. So now here's what we have, and we see here different kinds of things happening on this blue. We see it lighter here, we see it darker here, but don't we see a change in hue between this and where it goes into shadow? And we can see on the sleeve, we have all those things happening. You can take 6 of the 7 visual elements one by one and find out everything you need to do to paint anything. And that's what I'm going to show you here. One, it's going to take a two-part set of quick tips rather than just a single tip. So, rather than to do the whole thing, which would take really a whole lot of time, I'm going to do a selection. And the selection I'm going to do is right here in the arm, because that selection is going to cover the folds, it's going to cover the shadow, what happens in the light part of the fold, what happens in the shadow portion of the fold, and a little bit of just the whole thing in shadow. And so what I've done here is what I would advise you to do if you start to paint something like this. Let's go through it and let's analyze what we're actually seeing. What kind of information are you going to need before you paint that. A lot of people will just say, okay, there's a denim jacket. I think I'll just paint a denim jacket and start painting and guess at how it's done. Well, that's going to get you maybe confused. Who knows what the final product will be? But if you take yourself through studying what's actually there, what are your eyes seeing? And why are your eyes seeing it that way? You'll be surprised. So that's where I'm going to take you. That's the journey. So I've taken this section. You can see it right here. I've taken this section. I've done an enlargement of that section. Now, in the day when before we had computers and ability to enlarge things, artists, when they were studying fabric, will actually go to a magnifier and hold it against a fabric and analyze what they were seeing, or many other things too. So that's in essence what we're doing here. So first, let's just put this right here as our reference. And what's the next thing we need now? It's always a good idea to study the shape. Start out with shape. Here are the 6 of the 7 visual elements that you'll need to analyze before you start and need to use all the way through. And I left out line, the shape, direction, size, value, color, and texture are the 7. Line is one that if you were doing line drawing, we would need that, but line and direction in painting covers it pretty much. So that's what we're doing. The shape, I think, takes first priority. So let's study the shape. What is the shape that we're looking at here? What shapes are we seeing in here? And so to study those shapes, I'm going to just use a Tombow pen here. This is available on Pixabay. But what I love about the Tombow pen is it has a felt tip pen on one end, and it has a felt tip brush on the other. And you can use that for studies, and really is helpful. So what are we looking at here in the way of shape? We are looking at edges that move downward in pretty much a vertical direction. Shape, direction. Shape is made from direction and size. So we're moving there. And if I were doing just a study of it, I'd come right here, doing just a study of it. Then what I would do is I would study what's happening on those edges, because I want to get that shape. I want to get that shape correct in order to get the other parts correct. So I see it coming down here like this, slightly tilting this way, coming down again, slightly tilting in, coming down again. And you see we have this in, down, and so on. So that is the kind of shape we're going to be working with on that side. Okay, something like that. Now what's the shape we're working on on that side? Well, that is very, very simple. I'm just going to cover about this right in here. That's very simple. On that side we have just a vertical, and that vertical continues down. You see that vertical continuing down like that. It has a little bit of dip in it right here, but it's behind this part of the jacket, and so that's a very simple shape. Now what about the shape inside? So we have a curve that goes inside like this, and it curves that way. Then over this side we have kind of a triangular shape. It starts as a kind of a very narrow shape right here, and it comes down about like that. And then we have just a horizontal edge right there, and that horizontal edge, well, that horizontal edge stops there. The horizontal edge goes all the way across like this, and then that horizontal edge kind of zigzags, that same edge right there, kind of zigzags right here, and we see on this side it has a little bit of a horizontal direction, horizontal, size, shorter than this. You see I'm going through those visual elements. So far we're working with direction and size in order to create shape. That's what it takes, direction and size to create shape. Oh, and well, we have that creates the edge, helps to create the edge of the shape. Okay, where are we now? So we come down like that, and then we come down to this part, and we see that that kind of ends about right here. This part right there, that ends about right there, and then it kind of takes a little horizontal out, and we see this sort of a little horizontal dip right here that has that space between, whoops, about like that, has that space between this and this, and it comes out about like that. Now, that gives us the study of the shape, and then we can look at that and say, and analyze whether we have got that shape, and it seems to me I might need a little bit more tilt over here. So I think I'll do that on that side, and then perhaps make that get that just a little bit more horizontal like that. And does this dip out a little bit more? I believe it does. See, and so then you can analyze for what you have there, and then get it pretty accurate if you're looking at what it is doing. This is going down, turning gradually, going down again, turning in gradually, little curve there, coming down again, turning in gradually, and so on. And it really is, I said vertical at first, but it's a little bit more of a diagonal movement. Diagonal direction. Direction creates movement. So if you get, no artist always gets an image exactly perfect, and that's not even the point. But if you're happy with your study of that part, then we can move on to the next step. If you're not happy with that step, with your study of that part, then it's a good idea to do another one. Just go to another place, or another sheet of paper, or whatever you're working on to do that part. So finding the shape and the direction and the size. And the size also includes how large it will fit into the canvas itself. Shape, direction, and size. Those three things are what you're concerned with first. Then, after you have found the shape and the direction and the size, shape, direction, and size, next thing is value. Now, you don't have any value at all without light. So while the light is hitting something, it creates value. And it creates degrees of value. It creates, in fact, light itself can create every degree of value we see right here. And of course, this is just divided into 10 degrees. It really can create more than that. But this we do so that we can read it, so that we can manage it. So since light creates value, then where does the dark come from? Well, that's shadow. That's where the light can't hit, or where the light rays aren't hitting. And so the next step I advise is to find that light and shadow placement. What is the light and shadow? What are the light and shadow doing each? So that's the next step in creating. You might say you're doing an anatomy of the subject. You're breaking it down so that you can see what's there, so that you will know what's there, and you'll be surprised how that will contribute to your ability to do that. So I'm going to do that now. Where is the shadow? Okay, you might say light shining right there. A little bit of light shining right there, but if you squint, most of that is really in shadow. So it's telling us that the light source, well, the light source is not really hitting here either, is it? So the light source is kind of funky. It must be over here somewhere. Now, when you find these posed photographs, especially on Pixabay, where I ripped this one off, sometimes they'll do funny things with light, but you want to communicate one light source. Well, I'm going to just look at what's here and what seems to be in shadow, the major shadow. And with the brush end of my little combo pen here, I'll just do that. I'll just show, okay, the shadow part, this is the big shape right here, but the shadow part actually begins about right there and it stops about right here. And so I'm just going to do that. That is a no tan. Oh, I'm taking that one out. That's right. I enlarged it, didn't I? Okay. That's a no tan. A no tan is not a value study. A true no tan will only show two values. Those values are not a part of the painting. It's a pattern to guide you, to show you where the shadow areas are and where the light areas are. So that's just a diagram. It's all in what we're doing when we're doing no tan. And so we can see the shadow comes down here and it bends around like that. Now, if you're doing this for a girl wearing jeans or anybody wearing anything, in fact, if you can do it for every subject you paint, you'll be surprised at how helpful it is to help you to see where you need to or where you need to put the colors and the values. Now, I see a shadow going up right here, and then I see that shadow coming on down, and there's a place right there as that fold goes around where we can't really see where the shadow ends. Well, we can sort of, but that spot right there is where the light rays stop hitting, and the light rays hit right there, and they just go right past that little fold as it turns away from the light rays, and we know that's shadow. So when we're placing this no tan, we're placing a general, not being specific. We're placing what we would call general shadow areas. So I'll just put that there like that. And then in this part, we see some shadow. See that actually the light and shadow are creating the shape there. So we see some shadow there. And so we'll just make that little shadow area, and it actually goes across. And this little shadow area right back here, it actually comes down and comes into that area folding like that, pretty much like that. And then we see shadow back here, and we see right there, see that shadow right back there, and then so we'll just shape that shadow. Now, shaping the shadow is all shaped. I'm said that word again. That is another one of the visual element. That is a visual element. Shadows can create shapes. Edges can create shapes. And then we have that one little bit of, oh, did I get that? Yes, I did. I see a little bit more shadow right in here on this part, and a little bit more shadow going back in here on that part. I see a little bit more shadow coming right down here on this part, and I see a little bit of shadow there and a little bit of shadow there, like that. Now that's the no tan, the pattern of light and shadow that I'm seeing right here. Now, I advise you, I'm going to stop your quick tip right here. I advise you, if you really want to get the most out of this quick tip, go to either pixelbay.com or Pexels, Pexels.com. You want to, if you're going to use photographs for this, it's a better idea to use something that is not copyrighted. And so those two sites have not uncopyrighted photographs there for people to use in whatever way they want to. But anyway, if you go there and just find something that appeals to you, that is a person dressed in denim or a denim fabric and folded in some way, doesn't make any difference. But stick to blue denim so that you can follow me now as I go into part two, that you can follow me and we go with me on what we will do with this when we get to part two. So part one is finding the shape and the size of the shape, and finding the direction in which that direction in which that is moving, that helps to create the shape, and to find the value, not the value itself, but find the value division, the light and shadow division that's going to create the value patterns we're going to need in order to do this study. So that's your homework, that's your assignment, and then when we go to part two, you'll see what we do with it. Be sure to view all of our quick tips. And while you're doing so, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell so you'll always get a notice when we produce a new quick tip, which is every week. And if you have a question, leave it in the comments section and we'll make a quick tip for you. Also, take a trip over to DianneMize.com where I have full-length lessons, downloads, DVDs, lots of other stuff there, some free stuff for you. And while you're there, you can subscribe to the newsletter And that way you'll always be informed every time we do something new.